All right, we are live.
All right, to our new channel, TogetherTec. Thank you, Adriel, for setting it up. So to start off, since this is not our first board meeting, but our first board meeting on this channel, I thought we could say what TogetherTec is. If anybody else would like to do that, you can step in, or I can try. Uh-oh.
I can definitely try. I'm guessing we're wanting to start with sort of.
I have this live, so one second.
Oh, you've got the echo.
I think I can. Oh.
All right, Tex, can you hear me? Twice.
Yeah, now I can. I had to mute because it was open and
you had YouTube open background.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. So TogetherTec, and it might actually help if we all give our definition just to sort of see where we're all at. So how I think of TogetherTec, at least to start with, is going to sort of be a collection of various projects, where TogetherTec itself is what we're calling the meta project, or the project to do with projects, where it's like I've got Wiki Election, Bentley has Reason Score, Jonas, I'm forgetting the name of yours.
Kindact. Or Kindact.
Right, Kindact. Thank you. So the different sort of challenges that we face with trying to bring those kinds of projects out, and actually from conception to design to building the audience to actually getting it built, to have a framework and to work on that publicly so that other people with similar projects can either learn or actually join TogetherTec so we can work together a bit more cohesively. And then that will expand as we get more projects. We can sort of start to see how we can really live in Game B. Start to see how we can take these kinds of projects. For example, mine and Bentley's are sort of, they're some similar in like they both belong to the sense-making space. And in Game A, we'd probably be in competition. But in Game B, part of the goal is to see how can we actually work together as a benefit, like to actually get more out of it than we would being competitive in Game A. And
I think that, yes, that is our current project, but TogetherTec is also a user cooperative for technology. Right. So how do we create technology that helps us live in Game B? How do we create omni-win solutions and figuring out all of that, the governance, the financing, the marketing. And so our first project, or the project we're focusing on right now, is the meta project of projects because it helps do that. But yes, the TogetherTec was a tech cooperative, and then we started calling it like a solutions cooperative because that is what we're focusing on, is creating solutions with technology.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think it's shoot, I just started talking and everything left. Yeah, so it's an opportunity to practice and play at Game B, and using our building things that we want in that space, trying to be non-competitive. And then also it's an opportunity maybe to find a way to make a living make a living while practicing Game B outside of Game A as much as possible. And then, just because many of us like using tech in our lives or can build it, that's why it's been tech focused so far. But then, yeah, as Jubilee said, anything that solves problems and gets the world closer to a Game B space.
Yeah, in my mind, it's kind of like, I see it as the entry point to any kind of projects where you can come find all kind of resources in people that have resources, be that material resources or abilities, where we can coordinate and then just together move technology forward. Yeah, all in that Game B space.
All right, awesome. That felt like a little bit like an idea cafe. I liked it, which is my project, I guess, if we're bringing projects to the meta project. Mine is the idea cafe and communication piece. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to the agenda? I kind of put a bunch of things on it just because it was looking blank. But
not yet, but I think if people have ideas, we can sort of add as we go.
Yes, so we did the first part, which was just introducing what TogetherTec is. Then the next piece I had here was talking about the meta project. How do we this is where I was confused from last week and forgot to rewatch the board meeting, which was on the Crowd Democracy channel. And now we're kind of starting afresh anyway. So how do we want our Friday meetings to go? Do we want this to be, again, moving TogetherTec forward, like moving the meta project together? Or do we want it to be a mastermind, bringing our projects here so we can showcase what that looks like to help each other? Or is there a third option? And then,
in my mind, it's mostly the first one. So like I think we need, and we'll end up with sort of multiple shows on this channel for things like, project raising and the brainstorming. But I think having a show, and maybe it doesn't end up being weekly, the actual final board meeting, but to sort of do something as similar to a game board meeting, a corporate world, where you're covering the same important aspects, and then we can add whatever we want, because the idea is, what does a board meeting look like in game B is sort of what I'm trying to think of. So whatever that ends up being, however that looks, I think that's the goal for this meeting. Even if it gets moved around to different time slots, et cetera, whatever we're calling the TogetherTec board meeting, I think should have some elements of that sort of like corporate governance, but where we wouldn't need to worry about, the profit-seeking aspects and stuff like that a lot of game A would. And there's probably going to be some extra things that you never talk about in a game A board meeting that will come up here.
Yeah, no, I think that a lot of, that's what else is going to add to the agenda, which I will come up with.
So Adrio, you were saying the board, the meta project, right? As opposed to the mastermind on our individual projects, right? For Friday.
Right, yeah. And I think it's where possible, we should probably try to emphasize like the individual meetings. So mastermind, we can sort of define what that is and what the goal is. And then if it moves around, it's still just the mastermind meeting. And so this, at least for the first session, is just called the TogetherTec board meeting. And so I think those are separate. And the mastermind, like I think that's kind of my understanding. When I hear mastermind, that's sort of like the bulk conversation that Jubilee has in mind, where she wants to be able to have 100 people come together and split out into the different groups and figure things out. And then.
No, not necessarily. It's more like you and Bentley. It could be either you and Bentley and whoever else has a sense-making project talking about sense-making projects, or people coming together and talking about marketing on their projects, right? Okay. It's kind of like but only in 4 people because it's going to be on YouTube. And then I would love to have conferences where we're able to split off, but we need way more people before that
right.
is able to happen.
I've been calling those co-op councils because that seems a bit more descriptive in my mind, but I'm open to ideas.
Yeah, I mean, language is always a hard point of naming things in a way that people understand what they are without explaining it, and not using game A language.
Right.
Nearly an impossible task.
Yeah. Well, I think you can use it as long as you're sort of repurposing it. Mm-hmm. Like, a board meeting is, it's not really game A, but it kind of is game A.
Okay, so to revamp from last week, I believe, Adriel, you said you were going to start the YouTube channel, which you did. I don't remember if Bentley said anything specific that he was taking on. And I was sending out the questionnaire, which I did send out the questionnaire. It gave me space.
Yeah, I don't think I had anything specific.
And so having, I did send out the questionnaire. We had 10 responses, which is awesome. Especially since like 7 of those responses came overnight. Like I posted 11 p.m. and woke up to 7 responses. And I think the only reason we don't have a lot more than that is that the algorithm makes it disappear, right? If people aren't constantly commenting on it, then it disappears. And so there are 4 of us all in the game B space, and we can boost each other's posts by commenting and liking them. And that should be what we're doing, so that people who want to see these things, like we're probably, I think, the biggest game B project. It's there. Like anyone can come participate. You can bring your project to it. It's OmniWin, it's antivirus, it's all of the things that aren't actually game B, right? That aren't like the wiki and those type of things.
Right.
And so I think it is ethical to boost the posts so that they go there. You can find them amidst the ones that people are commenting. How is this game B? Well, you just made it game B by commenting on it and bringing the algorithm, right? Like, And so, yes, especially with the questionnaire. And if I write up a post after for the next show, to boost it, to just comment on it and have a conversation with each other on there so that people will see it, if that feels right to people.
Yep. Fine by me.
Yep.
And that's something where that might actually be a part of the meta project. Sort of one of these strategies is in these situations, we recommend, like, for example, if Bentley and I have a sense-making co-op council and we have a post to do with that, then the people in that council might, go and like it and share it. And the whole thing where it's in each group, the goal is to increase visibility for things that actually have a purpose.
Yeah, and also like even on Twitter and on other. Sorry.
The same thing. Sorry, about the post that you posted before, where you collected the projects, that spreadsheet, which also people open the spreadsheet, but they don't necessarily then comment on the post, and so that post itself, it tends to disappear, unfortunately.
Yeah. Which might also be good for posts like that to word them in a way that we're also encouraging people that do it, right? Like, hey, fill out your form and then add a comment saying what you did, blah, 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 blah. Actually, I think you did that, didn't you? Saying like, add your comment so that we can tie it to who it is.
For one of the question ones, I basically was like, if you agree, comment. If you don't agree, comment. Because exactly that. I didn't put it for the algorithm, but I don't remember if it was for the questionnaire itself. I think it was for something else that was just a questionnaire.
I think you did some. It wasn't as
that was the question whether we want to have different topics to talk about every week, or all the same. And
to do Idea Cafe as more of a, instead of 4 people getting together.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jonas, for being my memory. Because I was like, I did that for something. And it's hard to stay at the top of the game bee, just in the algorithm and those kind of things. Like, I don't want to have to post a new thing for the project. Like, go to this one and fill out the project. I also don't know what we're doing with that questionnaire now that it's filled out by 10 people.
We should also really maybe make more use of the links on the site. Like, there's, I think, documents, although I don't have it open right now, but documents, and also the wiki maybe, to put our links there, so that it's in a more stable.
Yes, I think that totally makes sense. Like actually all the different like sticky content, see if we can get added there, like the different things. That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I'm on the wiki. I think Bentley is too. I'm there just to participate in the conversations because I don't actually know how to do it. But if someone can walk me through how to, not necessarily even the 4 of us, I can get somebody in the wiki page to walk me through how to post those things, then having more like our YouTube content in any of the projects we are doing, right? Because it's not just our YouTube channel, it is Project Raising and the whatever we're calling the mastermind, the co-op, I can't remember what your name was, Freddie Drill, co-op councils.
Yeah.
And updating it, right, as new things come out.
Right.
Maybe the new show that I think will be popular in the game bee space, because that's the point, is to find something that's popular. I just think it'd be really fun to sit for an hour and brainstorm ideas that tech can solve an actual problem without actually needing to make it and coming to a new, which by the way is the show idea, the new show. But we're not there yet. Meta project. So the questionnaire, what do we do with it now, is on the agenda, because I honestly don't know. We've made it. And then the meta project, like how do we actually get people, not to project raising, because I don't think it's that hard, but to have someone get their project raised is easy. To have people come participate in raising other people's projects, and how do we coordinate the cooperative councils? How does that actually work? Like, what are the ideas for marketing that? Right,
yeah. And like how you get from having one person in a topic to, okay, you've got the second and third. When do you start those councils? How do we categorize them? Yeah, there's a whole thing to do with how do we actually get those up and going.
And how do we just reach out to the people who filled out the questionnaire and said, yes, they want to participate, right? Yeah. What does that look like now?
Yeah, so I think the next steps are reaching out to them, but also one thing I think we should do is take that data and put it in the Game Bee wiki and clean up their project, take over the project page basically, unless they don't want us to, which I think they want contributors, so I don't think it'd be an issue. And put all that data in a more manageable format would be one thing to do with it. And then as far as getting people, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, on that note, I've been playing with sort of like the two different versions of the app. I've been trying to build some kind of like a member portal in both Bubble and Knack, and sort of playing with the tools there. So I think we could have something early days in one of those two areas pretty soon. And
I'm also building an app right now in Bubble with a sign-in page and login and everything. So I'll be pretty familiar with it. I spent 8 hours on it yesterday and 4 hours on it today. So I might be a little quicker. But also I don't want to duplicate the wiki. I mean, they were talking about that there's okay to have duplication of things, but I hate duplication. So
I think for the most part, the wiki, it's too, like, even though it's editable, it's too static, and it's not really great for data. It's great for, like an article.
However,
the are fantastic at that.
Some of the people in the wiki, their vision, because Bentley and I were part of the call last Friday, right? That was a week ago. Is more of what we're talking about with TogetherTec. Not necessarily the meta project and how to facilitate projects, but how to do more of the cooperation and like creating Game B through the wiki. And I was like, oh, that's more of a platform to me, or social media. But that sounds like the two kind of like are pretty interwoven. It's just starting with the wiki versus starting with.
Yeah, and I think there will, if we're able to, there should be some overlap. Like whatever app is built in Bubble or Knack or whatever, probably should have some like outlinking to various pages of the wiki. Like, hey, here's the topic. There's not like, because both programs are fairly simple as far as like, you can just sort of make the app. There's not a lot of sort of, built-in help. But you can probably add links that will say, if you're trying to use this page and have questions, click here, and then that's a page on the wiki that talks about that thing.
So, Adria, what are you hoping to build? You mentioned a login system, but what are you hoping to have in Bubble? Which idea is this?
To start with, this is the list of projects. This is going to be the projects that are sort of listing who's involved now, what help they need, and then for members to be able to sign in and say, here's my project if I have one. Here's the things I'm interested in. Here's the projects in that space that are looking for help from somebody with my skill set. And then being able to pair those up and have people apply or contact the project to actually start pairing people who don't have projects or who do and just would also like to help with projects with the projects that they could join.
So I just found that post that I mentioned in the beginning on Facebook about Hilo, Hilo.com, and that sounds like a little bit like what you are describing. Has anyone by any chance looked at that?
I haven't.
No,
is that HILO?
HYLO.
Okay.
And yeah, so that one, yeah, it seems like you can have a group, and then in that group or a community, and then in that community different projects, and then different members, and then people can basically sign up to work on different projects or so and communicate and collaborate. So I spent only 5 minutes on there now, so I'm not and it's pretty empty at the moment. But yeah, before you dive into the Bubble thing, it's worth to check that one out.
Yeah. Is it an app? Because Hilo's also seems to be a iDrop.
No, HYLO.com?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm there. It's the easiest way to organize and grow your community. Community management messaging. So, I mean, that looks good. One of my eventual goals is to turn this into sort of a few different things where you end up with like your projects that have the things that they're looking for, all the different live streams so people can sort of see what types of content like this are available, and they can see, the schedule, all that kind of thing.
By the way,
one of the nice things about both Bubble and Knack is they're platforms that let you build, right? So you can build your own features.
Sorry, can someone point me to the actual YouTube channel that we are live on?
Yes, it's TogetherTec, and if I search TogetherTec here, I have it here. One second.
If I search TogetherTec, then I find only heaps of videos that have TogetherTec in the title, but not.
Gotcha. That might be my stuff. One second.
Okay.
Aurora, not in here. Okay, never in, please. Thank you. Did you see it? It's in the private chat here.
Yeah. Thanks. To post the link to Hilo there in case someone is watching and wants to go there. So sorry, Edgar. What was your difference to Hilo that you?
I mean, it seems like Hilo is probably an out-of-the-box product that like we could sign up for and start using for the expected purpose right now. But I don't think it's like I don't know what you call it, a drag and drop development platform.
And it's not a no-code application creation.
Right.
So Jonas, I imagine that some of the functionality we want wouldn't be supported in something like a Hilo or a Mighty Bell groups, which I imagine is what Hilo is like, where they're pretty much kind of a social media replacement with some different. I mean, it's not
really niche
social media. Yeah, and I can't even see from this how they support this project. But yeah, so I imagine if we want custom functionality, I don't think Hilo would do that, which would be like, well, like, you know, having a project to resource matching system. So you could have like, these are the projects, these are the different types of projects there are, and here's what I'm interested in, and then it would create a matching of the projects to figure out which ones I should join. No, we're not that sort of thing. I don't think Hilo would support that.
No, which is exactly like, there's so many amazing projects out there, but if we don't own them, and I don't mean the four of us, I mean humanity, right? Like if we don't own it, we can't improve it. We can't make it work for and as a person who wants to work on multiple projects, I briefly looked at Hilo, so I don't know if they do what I want them to do, which is as an individual, I want to see all the projects and I want my dashboard, right? I want to be able to, like, they're designed so TogetherTec could have a community, but Reason Score couldn't use that same community. WikiLection couldn't use that same community. And so we're having to solve the marketing and finance and everything problem again and again and again for every project, as opposed to creating the meta project that is like, wait, if somebody's interested in Reason Score, they're probably also interested in WikiLection. And they might do, you know, like a couple hours of work for creating a logo for you and a couple hours of work for you if that's their the thing they're good at, and they wanted to work with who, and it makes it easier to volunteer or get paid depending on for the various projects. And as a user, someone who wants to be involved, I want to be able to have my dashboard with all of those, not sign in, sign out for WikiLection and for Reason Score, which seems to be what all of them are, because they're all about decentralization. Even when we were talking about the WikiLection for Game B, they're like, and then we could sell it to the nuns in Florida. I'm like, I want to have one app, but like, that's just my preference. Or if we want to compete with Facebook, and I think we do because we want people, then like creating it for the individual user as opposed to the community, but with the community in mind is what you kind of need to do. So if I wanted to be part of the nuns in Florida and Game B, I want mine to be all of that, like it is on Facebook, right? Where I don't have to sign in and sign out to join Game B or my parenting groups or my acoustic neuroma one. I can just be on Facebook.
Hilo may actually have that type of grouping with some of the text on there. Kind of implies that a person can be a member of multiple groups without signing out and signing in, but I haven't confirmed that.
Briefly looking at it, it does seem like if we weren't sort of trying to go to the next step, Hilo would definitely be a great first step because it is the member community. It probably has, 80% of the stuff that we'd want on day one. But a big part of it is just the ability to sort of tweak it as necessary to build exactly what we want it to do.
I guess I think of it more as that first stepping stone that,
right.
For example, it could be used in order for us to start the meta project and get people together, and then with those people together, build our own alternative if we decide that that is indeed necessary.
I guess the question is, like, if for some reason someone hadn't heard of Facebook and they joined Facebook to be in Game B, and then they're on Facebook, so they join all the other ones. Is it like that, where if Adriel brings people to the table for WikiLection, are they also made available to Reason Score, right, and all the other ones? Or does it just so happen that if both Adriel and Bentley get me to sign up for their individual projects, I, Jubilee, get to be on both of them? But it's not me, Jubilee, signing up for WikiLection, and then because I know I'm interested in that, they also show me Reason Score, right? And anyone involved in one can
I guess,
are they giving me community, or do I have to create my own? Right? Are they?
I think I understand what you're asking, and what I'm hearing is it like Facebook, where you sign up for one account and as many companies as want can sort of sign up for their own page or community, and you can choose what to join? Or is it like Google Drive, where you need an account to participate, but you can't go and find any document? Somebody has to sort of share it with you to invite you to work together, even though you're in the same ecosystem. There isn't a connection until you explicitly say, let's sign up and work on this document together. Or
like Discord, right? Discord, you have to be invited. You can't really search them and do and yet at the same time, Facebook, you can only kind of do that if there's like money. Like if I know I want an acoustic aroma group, good, I can go search that out. But it's not going to tell me, hey, we noticed you had an acoustic aroma. Did you know there's a community around that? And there's this community that's talking about brain tumors, or you know what I mean? Like this, it's not, they're in it to make money. They're in it to make my life more connected.
Right.
Or to help TogetherTec or Game B succeed any more than any other company.
It looks like they do. Yeah, it looks like they do have very similar goals. So I would say that they definitely do have view posts from all your communities at once. So you know it's more like Facebook in that way. They may not have the surfacing or finding of communities, although we could theoretically do that separately temporarily. I see the only real reason to start using this is if we choose to get off of Facebook.
Or if
some people have a goal.
But we're not really on Facebook. Like, I mean, we use Messenger, but do you mean like we don't even have a Facebook group, right? For TogetherTec. For Game B, we do. And that's kind of part of it, right? Yeah. Like we're using Game B as our pool of people to be interested. And we could also use that pool to create TogetherTec, but like, unless people join TogetherTec, they're not part of that pool. And it's the same problem if we join Hilo, right? Like, how do we bring people to that to be part of that community and connection?
Yeah. I guess our first, go ahead.
It might be good if someone, and Jonas, you may want to take this on, actually sign up as a member, see what you see. And like, is it Facebook-ish where you can just sign up as a member and see all the communities and search for them? Or is it more community-centric where you're signing up as a part of a community? That's all you see to sort of start with, and then as you get invited, you can just reuse that login. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I am signed up already,
okay,
but I am apparently the only person there.
Now, when you signed up, did you need to like sort of create your own space, or is it like Facebook where you're just now a member of Hilo and there's all these different communities that now you can join?
No, it's you. I think you see all the communities, and then when you go into one community, you see all their projects.
Right.
I'm not sure whether you have to be part of that community first before you actually see the projects, but so I think it is quite open, but it's hard to really tell and verify because as the only person, I don't know whether there are actually other communities, or it might be that there are, but they are hidden, and I'm actually not the only person there.
Okay.
Well, I mean, in order to sign up, you have to hit a button that says "Start a Community." Right? There is no create an account. So, Jonas, I think you had to create a community.
So you probably created your own, and you're the only one in it.
I mean, maybe they're just terminology is bad.
Yeah, that might be.
Which is a big problem, because how do we get, like, I guess then you create a community and then you can probably invite people, but then you have to invite people, which means they're not getting the information.
Anyway, I guess we can probably pause the discussion around specifically Hilo at the moment. I can keep an eye on it and look more into it. But so what I hear out of all of this is that we want to have at least sooner or later, at least this our own version of this where people can interact and find each other in the way that we want to shape it. And yeah, whether we want to.
Exactly. So we have as much control over the roadmap as possible. So we don't, like, oh, they're missing a certain feature. Can we have that? Yeah, we'll think about that in 5 years.
Yeah. Which, and to that point, I'm not 100% sure whether that is, at least in the stage where we are right now, the right way forward, because there are so many tools that will probably facilitate the first steps already. And if for us to get to the point now, okay, good. On the other hand, Bentley and Edril, you said that you played with Bubble and you could create something like that reasonably fast.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what
I was right now imagining like it would take a year until we get to that point, but if you say it can be done much faster with Bubble.
on what functionality if you want. If you want to replace Facebook groups or Hilo, it would still take several months. But I don't think that we have a huge value in that. I think the main thing we want to do, which isn't done anywhere, which is a skill and time matching with projects. I don't think Hilo has that yet.
I think it does have the skill matching with projects
within a single community.
Not necessarily the time scheduling. I'm not sure.
See, I still think it might have skill matching within a community, which I guess if we had a single community with multiple projects, then maybe that would work.
And then it's seeing whether that pricing works with that, right? Like which is always like, so, as an individual, it should always be free, but then as a project, maybe not. But then,
well, there's no pricing on the website whatsoever.
Yeah, that's one thing that so it does say like sign up for free, but it's like, yeah, but does it stay free?
Nothing's free.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever free. Game B is not even free yet.
If you're not paying, you're the product.
Right now, yeah. Because we're living in a Game A world.
Yeah, in Game A, if you're not paying, you're the product.
Yeah, it's funny.
But we definitely need to look into it. We probably, I mean, to Jonas's point, we probably need to look at it, see what its functionality is, and see what overlap this is. Because even if we don't end up using it, it's good to know how much overlap we have with other systems. And if we do end up using it, maybe that's one less thing we have to build. Although we do eventually have a concern on living, if it ends up being kind of a Game A-ish product, then eventually may want to replace it. But I don't know if it does if it does mostly what we want, then
yeah, exactly. If it can allow us to focus on other things and it can do 80% of what we want it to do, then it's probably good to So I would be interested to find out about the skill matching sort of across projects. Like if we say here's a skill, for marketing and a skill for finance, can one project say I need help with marketing, a different project can say I need help with finance, and then a new member signs up and says, I'm good at finance, does it highlight, oh, go over there?
Yeah. Help the projects actually exist. Does it help people find a purpose?
So, okay, I can send that post around. The Hilo has apparently been acquired by Holo. We already, I think many of us are aware of Holo already. They're also in the Game B space-ish a little bit, not officially, but has been often referenced here.
Which Holo?
The Holo chain. Oh, okay, good. Let me. Yeah,
there's a Holo.host. There's a Holo chain.
But aren't they interconnected?
Yeah, they are. Holo is based on the Holo chain.
Is that what Ethereum's part of?
the cloud
They're
hosting market.
Anyway, I can send the post around where they say more about it. And there's the first line in there is, I clicked on something. Is that it's a web and mobile app to help communities and groups communicate and collaborate more effectively. And so it sounds like they are also in the beginning stage a little bit of of what they're doing, and I think it would make sense for us to try to collaborate with them actually in our and see what their vision is maybe and what we want to do. It sounds like we are probably going in the same direction at least.
Yeah, the difference is if they're holochain, that means they're decentralized. It means they're blockchain, which means every one thing has to be that nail before they apply that hammer. And at least my vision for TogetherTec is like when we own it together, we can figure out if if blockchain is the way. But it's like, and this doesn't mean we don't reach out to them, don't have a conversation, because I think that's what we do. But then they want it decentralized. They want your community to be separate, this community to be separate, and they don't care that you get one dashboard. They don't even know if they see the vision, because it's like everything needs to be set decentralized so that we're safe, as opposed to but we're not powerful then. Like there's something to be said for doing things together as long as it's done transparently and like.
Yeah, no, I don't think that that being on the holochain necessarily means that you are separate. So there are definitely ways where you can still have the interaction and linking up of things, and so it doesn't necessarily exclude each other.
Okay, I think that's worth looking into more. Are you able to send invites or anything, Jonas? Like, how do you add someone to it?
Maybe I'll check it out.
Okay, yeah. If you do find a way, if you can message me on Facebook, I'll send you my email or whatever it needs to send me the invite. I'd be interested to sign up as a member just to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything pressing right now for TogetherTec? Oh, what was that? For TogetherTec, just open a new window with us. We talked about the algorithm that we're going to go and like the questionnaire post. We haven't really talked about what we're actually going to do with that besides the wiki. We put it on, but we kind of need permission, like somewhat permission. So maybe posting that in the wiki Game B Facebook group of like, hey, we have this questionnaire. How do we get more people to fill it out, and how do we use it on the wiki?
Right.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we could probably check with them the first time, but it'd also be good to check with them. I don't think they want people asking permission before you go in and do things. I think they want people contributing. is my
Yeah, no, fair enough. But at the same time, if they have their projects, right? Like, how do we not dismantle that and add what they have that is used that we don't have, right? Because we have 10 people having filled it out. We don't have 100 people filling it out, or you know what I mean? Everyone in the Game B space. That's part of the algorithm, is to go and boost it so that hopefully we do get more. I feel like if we had 25 projects, it'd be easier to be like, hey, these are all Game B projects. We haven't vetted them, but hey, that's part of it, is how do we vet them? What does Game B mean? We're all figuring that out. Is it OmniWin? Is it Anti-Ravarus? Who owns it? Can I be involved in it? Is it a podcast? What are the labels at the top, and how do we organize this? And that's being part of kind of that conversation. Less about permission and more just about like, how do we not undo what you've done and add our stuff to it?
Yeah, I would think in the wiki it'd be quicker to just go and suggest the change. I think there's a way to draft a change and then have them come back, because I think there's they're just gonna accept whatever we do unless it's horrendous, and they're pretty swamped. But it'll depend on who ends up having time to do that.
Okay, so yeah, if someone could just boost the algorithm on the Game B regular Facebook group, boost comments on it, search for me, and then the questionnaire one, the one that was Game B, quite like for projects of projects. I don't remember what it said because it was like 4 or 5 days ago.
Like I filled it out, so I'll go add a comment just saying, "Oh, hey, I added WikiLection." Like just something simple like that.
Which is what I actually said to do in the thing.
Right.
I was like, and tell me who you are so I can match you with your Facebook profile. Because some people don't have the same name and very few people commented. Which is fine. Like people just don't read. They just start doing.
Yep.
And so it becomes like I want the algorithm to work in our favor. So there's 4 of us and we can make that happen. I have less power in that because I'm the one who originally posted it, right? So when I like things, it doesn't necessarily boost it. That one, I could like your guys' posts, like Wiki Election, I always like, and I don't necessarily comment on it. Maybe I should comment on it as well. But yes, is there anything else for TogetherTec specifically? Is this what are we going to do next week? What does this look like going forward? Are we just...
So one of the things or I guess there's 2 things. One, at some point, I'd like to actually start the co-op council for sense making. So Bentley and I can start to sort of get as reason score. I mean, from what the small amounts I've heard of it, it does sound like there's a fair amount of overlaps. I'd be interested to see how that conversation goes and talking about that specifically. And then sort of the higher level conversation that I think we're all interested in to some extent, which is the conversation around trust. Like, what does the public need in order to trust an organization? Well, what does it need to trust the other members of the organization? What does it need to trust the final product? Like all these different things that I think for pretty much all the projects I've heard, there's some element of, even if you're just making some widgets, what do people need in order to trust the company making them?
Yeah, like what, as a user, how would I, like, not only how would I find reason score, but then if I did find it, because it's like trust and marketing and finance are pretty key central conversations you need to have on all the projects. Like, how do you get it made, financing, how do you keep it going? How do you get people on it so it's sustainable, so you get the money on it? And then how do we own that trust is a huge piece of that?
Yeah, and that's really one of the things.
But is that what we're going to be talking about here?
Well, I think that's part
it's
of
just marketing. It's like
is that it's all like all the things that you just listed, do those become topics of this meeting? I would say probably not. I would say that might be like one of the, if we don't have enough projects for project raising, that one might alternate between like project raising and the meta project, like brainstorming.
Yeah. Okay.
A session on that, on trust, whatever channel that fits into. I just think of all of them, this one isn't it. And I think the brainstorming for tech probably isn't it.
Yeah, there was also, so one of the people who's interested in doing project raising is an Australian, Richie, and like this time slot is way too early for him. It'd be like, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. this time. It's even, I know it's early for Jonas as well, but it's like even earlier, which feels weird because of the way time zones go. But so I feel like that's different in our country, but I also might just be confused based on what New Zealand is and Australia is.
Right.
Not the point. So that wouldn't be moving project raising consistently. It would just be for people who truly can't make that time period. Do we want an alternative time period? And do we also hold this one and then just have that one as, let's say, a monthly? We're going to also have one at like 2 p.m. our time.
Right.
I don't know if that works, but like 2 p.m. our time on Saturdays, once a month.
Yeah.
For other people to join. And then if we're doing, I like the idea of alternating a project raising for someone else versus a meta project raising for us, right? Like the trust conversation.
Yeah.
Does this like?
I think that works.
2 p.m. What time zone? Or is that just a throwing a number out?
Pacific Standard Time, and you're 2 hours or later. So I think that would be 4 p.m. What time is it now for you, Bentley? I can't. My brain.
It's 1:43.
Yeah, so 2 hours later. So it'd be 4 p.m. your time. And I just made that the time. That's not the time Richie gave me. I just mean it has to be later in the day. So does that time work for you?
Yes.
Okay.
I would think ideally he'd probably want a bit later because I think that's still like 6 a.m. his time or something.
So it's 5 hours earlier the next day. So it'd be Sunday at 9 a.m.
So for me, actually, right now is this meeting starts at 8 for me. So for him, it's 2 hours earlier than that's of 3 maybe.
How does it start at 8? That means you're 23 hours.
I'm ahead 21 hours, I think.
Because it's 9 a.m. for Adriel and I, and 11 a.m. for Bentley. No. What? Sorry. Wow. I'm thinking project raising. So I'm so sorry. Right,
so
this is
sorry.
11 a.m. I'm so right.
I-
The project raising is at like 5 a.m. for you, right?
Yeah. Sorry, no, I was wrong there. Yeah.
What day is it? What's going
No,
on?
the project racing, I think it's 6 a.m.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's like 4 a.m. for him or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it would be better to move it a little bit more than 2 hours.
Right,
because
it's
even-
9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 5 hours ahead than what it normally is. If
Okay.
it was 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because that one is at 9 a.m. in the morning, and then moving it once a month for it to be 2 p.m. So people who
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so then I think it's 11 for Jonas and 9 a.m. for that person, which seems fine.
Which still makes it about 10
you are
p.m.
in
for your.
contact with him, I assume, in some way. So you can just ask him whether that works for him.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah, I will do that. Perfect. And yeah, so do we want to? So we can have every other week we can try it and say, hey, we're going to raise our own project, the meta project, every other week, or we can do it once a month, whatever people want, and then we can have project raising other people's projects. And I think part of project raising should also be an invitation, meaning what does that actually look like? I don't know. To be part of the meta project, right? Like come help us participate in raising the meta project on the other Saturdays, but also if you can make this meeting, even if it's just watching and commenting, or like what, not a requirement, but an invitation.
Right. I think it'll actually be interesting once we get enough people interested for even some of us to sub out and be an audience member. I think it would be interesting to try to interact that way, see how that works, see how the comment because I have no idea what it's like to be an audience member for a live stream and how that works and how that interaction works, and sort of what it feels like having to type your questions and then seeing them. I'm not sure. I think that might help.
I was in one of the earlier ones as just a chatter, and it was you're always late with your comments to whatever they're saying. So
right. Yeah. So is that live?
I know with my brain, I'm like, wait, what is that for?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good idea when we have other people to swap in to try it from the other side and to say, right, this isn't. I'm hoping this is game B, and it's we figure out a way to get a decentralized, somewhat decision making where it's it's not 4 people making a decision for everyone. It's bring your ideas, bring your project. How do we have an effective conversation with a bunch of people? How do we have effective governance with a bunch of people? Not as much as, part of me wants ownership. Part of me wants to make billions of dollars off of it. But I want it to work. I want a tech company that helps humanity create omni-win solutions. And that is easier. A board is effective. And so we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and not have a board, but how many people can the board hold, right? If it can hold all our members and we can figure that out, awesome.
And I think once it's actually an entity, we just have to find out because there are certain things where if the organization does something wrong, the board members are the ones that are liable. And so we have to figure out how whatever entity TogetherTec ends up as, if it's a cooperative or a society or what, the board one might actually be the group of people that one's not as swappable, because these are the people who, if TogetherTec breaks the law, they're the ones going to jail. So they're the ones that that have the veto power. I know you guys voted for that, but I don't want to go to jail, so no.
Right. And then that is part. I don't know how it works with Mac and them, Mountain Equipment Co-op. I know the board is probably just like any other board responsible, but also the membership owns it and they're responsible to the board. You know what I mean? So yeah, the idea is that to some degree, the board is less responsible than in other regular corporations because we're transparent and because we're doing it in that way where it's anyone could, if it's the public suing us, yes, we're responsible. If it's our membership suing us, no, you're just as responsible, right? And laying that out in legal terms.
Right.
You could have also attended.
I'm not even so much worried about the suing so much as there's going to be a lot of people in positions of power that if this works, are going to be fairly upset with us and will do things that, so it's trying to make sure that wherever possible, we know what bounds we're playing within. If we can say, if it's a membership driven co-op, then, the board isn't as liable or at all, then it might be completely fluid.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to work within game A to create game
Right.
B, and it's figuring all of that out and doing it transparently, which both puts us at more risk and less risk at the same time. Like guaranteed, we're going to pierce the corporate veil. It's nearly impossible to not when you have live board meetings, and so that puts us financially responsible. But like in no way is there any finances on the line yet anyway. So how we need to have the conversations before that happens of how don't we pierce the corporate veil in a live board meeting when we're board members spitballing ideas, and it's like, or we could start, doing this thing, and someone's like, oh, actually, that's illegal.
When you're talking about piercing the corporate veil, do you mean like the fact that most board meetings for corporations are closed, and so it's opening that up and
so when you incorporate as a corporation, the corporation is the thing taking everything on, right? So they're the ones taking on the financial risk, they're the ones taking on the legal risk. And since you can't send a corporation to jail unless the board does actually illegal things, it's the like entity that's kind of tried, not the individuals. But if you pierce the corporate veil, which is like me being like Jubilee's doing instead of TogetherTec is doing, and even literally just saying it in that way, can be enough to pierce the corporate veil.
Right.
And so you're effectively incorporated for no reason because now you're completely liable.
Right. But yeah, exactly. So if it's like a monetary thing, you would sue the corporation because the corporation has more money. But like with the whole the OxyContin, those lawsuits, there's actually board members that have been going to jail because they've been like, oh, we found out that you knew what you were doing and decided to make money and kill people. Off to jail you go.
Right. And so that's like when you do illegal activity as a board, you've already pierced the corporate veil. But if you do things that are like in between, like let's say you create a product and you didn't do it maliciously, but it needs to be recalled and you recall it, but people died, the board doesn't go to jail, right? It's like, no, that was within our capacity. We did everything we could when we found out. We have insurance, we have all of this,
right? But
there can still be a point where if they can prove you pierced the corporate veil, that it's actually the board that goes to jail and not the corporation that's then sued into because that's the whole reason corporations were created was to not pass that financial and legal risk onto the board members and onto the people. Like the difference between a sole proprietorship or a partnership and a corporation is that you're not actually
the limited liability. The part of the
that's the pierce the corporate veil. You no longer have limited liability once you've pierced it.
Okay, interesting. Is that actually a term like in that space? Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I remember reading all about it in my more reading days. So we only have like 8 minutes left. I just wanted to bring up the idea for the new show and kind of get the okay to try it and run with it, which is creating an hour show weekly. I don't know when it will be. That is basically just problem solving solutions with tech, but without ever creating anything. So let's say, get a bunch of people together and talk about food and what you're currently doing, what's currently being done for food, what would we want to keep the same? What is good about our current system for food and what is bad about our current system for food? What could it look like in game B or in 10 years in the future? And then what could we do now, right? If we had $100,000 and 10,000 people, what would be possible? Because then that's showcasing, I think, for the regular everyday public. One, they could be involved in having that conversation. They don't need to have a tech degree, right, to be talking about that. And just that there are solutions in all of these different places. And that's where my mind wants to geek out. Like, that is basically why I'm creating TogetherTec, is so that I can sit and have conversations on how to create solutions. And so to just do that.
I think that's great. I did want to give a little feedback. I think you might even just say come up with solutions and just leave out the with tech. I mean, I know all the solutions end up having some sort of tech, but a lot of people think digital solutions, which I don't think you need that qualifier.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
If we're saying,
I'll bring up tech every time, but other people don't need to.
Yeah. So if we're saying that,
and you are the one who's not in tech, actually.
I know, exactly.
Sorry, what was that?
That I'm not in tech, but I create tech solutions constantly. Yeah. No idea how to code it, but can save the world with it, no problem.
It's fine. Yeah, because if we're not, then that sounds like things like the trust conversation might actually be that it might actually hit there if it's not solely about tech and it's about trying to solve problems. Because part of the trust conversation, there will be some tech, there will be some how does the corporation operate? What are the the corporate values, or however that conversation goes, undoubtedly some of it will be tech, but I think the end goal isn't inherently tech or not tech. It's just, what do people trust?
Like the Idea Cafe, where like you guys in no way have to join it, right? It's just its own channel and it will be on this channel. But is it something that any of you desperately want to participate in?
I'd like to.
Because I can't have it on the weekends. It can't be something that's on the weekend because I've already dedicated this time and I have a kid and I have all week to do things, but not necessarily on the weekend. But I'm open to doing it early in the morning, like 6 a.m. so that it's before work for like you. Or, I mean, that would make it 8 a.m. for you, Bentley. So even possibly earlier, which would be, but like I can get up at 5 a.m. once a week and have a conversation on how to create a better world. So it's coordinating the time, or it could be a floating time. I don't know.
My schedule's pretty flexible. It sounds like something I'd like to participate, although I'm easily getting to the point where I've overcommitted. So we'll see.
Yes, yeah. I kind of have too, but this is the thing I want to do. Like I'm like, actually, this sounds really fun.
Yeah. I mean, it might work maybe to start with. Like it sounds like because it's not tech and it's more just about trying to solve problems, maybe this becomes the alternate time slot in the project raising. So we go project raising this, until we get more of an audience. We can figure out what people like, what people are watching, and then figure out, oh, look, we have a huge audience for this. Oh, half of them are in Australia. Let's do 2 sessions. Let's do one, mid and one later so that we can start to.
Yeah, especially if we don't have to, like, the 4 of us don't have to be in both of them, right? That, like, one group does this one and one group does
totally.
that one.
And I think you'll end up with like moderators where probably one of us will, but I'm fine with either. So it's.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, I'm good with that. If you guys are good with that, like it would be instead of doing the meta project, we're doing this. Or it could be project raising, one meta project a month, and then one this a month. But I also want to be doing this weekly, like for me. Like, but that doesn't mean like we could have the weekend one once a month and then have one on a Monday that people can.
Do we still have a lot of people wanting to do project raising?
No, but I haven't put it up in a while. Last time, like there's someone for next week, tomorrow, and then Richie wants to do one. And I think you wanted to do one for Recent Score, right? But I haven't lined anyone up forward.
I think there's still probably plenty more. If I remember the comments, there were quite a few projects, and I can't imagine that you've gone already through all of them. But yeah, it's probably just.
There was a few at the beginning that, I've contacted them and they aren't interested, or they never got back to me, and then other people who I have contacted. And so I think I would need to post again to get more, to kind of, one, with the algorithm to just get it better and just kind of revamp what we're doing. Like, hey, you're bringing aspiration and doing this, but also that invitation piece of like coming to be part of, like, what could we do for you and what could you do for us? I don't know.
I think if there is any kind of a lack, we can also revisit previous projects, because it's not like a project just needs to get raised once. If you raised it once and you solve that problem, great. What's your next problem? Because
and that might be what we want to do. So you know what I mean? Instead of getting a new project every time, to go and have repeat ones for that very reason.
Yeah. So with all of that, I mean, that sounds like that's also a thing that has a lot of content. I know we already discussed this, but maybe that should be every week instead of every other week. And then anything else we want to do, go at a different time.
For the revisiting the project raisings?
No, just the project raisings and the revisiting project raisings, because I think we talked about alternating it with something else.
Right.
And I'm suggesting we don't alternate it with something else.
We just keep the project raisings. Yeah, the issue is I'm fine with that, except that then we can't be on the weekends. Like I can move it to 2 p.m. a week, and I could even do that once a month.
What's the other project that we're going to alternate it with?
The meta project. So kind of
what are we
raising for TogetherTec?
So what are we doing with this time then?
Yeah, we could alternate this. I'm not sure that we need a board meeting every week.
Board meeting every week. So I think board meeting meta projects.
Every other week. So having like a brainstorming here. And so therefore, how do we decide what our aspiration is for that week? And then like next week, we could talk about trust, right? Or do that.
Yeah,
and then
that's fine.
And then the new show that I just talked about
could happen whenever you're available.
Okay. Because I can also put that out to Project B. There's already 4 of us, and we're already the 4 faces that are both, or when Jonas able to join, like project raising and this, right? So, like, I don't think this channel needs to be all of like us, right? Just us. So it's like bringing other people on board. Like, this is more of an idea cafe type thing of like, what are you currently doing for food, and how do we actually create something that sparks a conversation where we're coming up with oh, cool, I want to like get in the realm of possibility and hope outside of like within that hour, right? Like, hey, we actually solved something. If we had $10,000, or sorry, 10,000 people and $100,000, we could make this. And then like a channel getting to 10,000 is not that difficult. It's difficult, but it's not that difficult if it's an engaging conversation that people want to watch and participate in. And then it's actually possible to say, hey, do we want to actually make this thing we just created? Project, it becomes like,
interestingly, to me, that sounds kind of like it almost makes sense to alternate with project raising, because that's kind of pre-project raising. That's like project raising is you have an idea, you know where you want to go, you're trying to do it, and you need help. And then this is like, here's kind of how we got to our projects, but on a new idea.
I mean, the thing with project raising is it's not hard to find people, but it is hard to find people to participate.
Right.
Like to actually do the raising of the project.
You do need to have a requirement of you participate twice before you get your project raised.
And this could be part of the participation, right? Like, you don't need to feel like you're going to be responsible for cube spawn if it fails, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like, hey, we're just figuring out food for the world. Like, just that. We're just figuring out world peace. We're just spitballing here. Like, and we're,
I guess I'm open to all those options. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to wait till next week to actually put something out there to the Game B community. So, are we just leaving it with me? Or we'll either do every other week for even this time slot, a new time slot, or the Friday? No, not the Friday time slot. That's our meta project. Alternating.
I mean, let's go ahead and throw out the general problem solving as to be a future project raising slot.
Are we saying that's project raising, or that's the meta project that would alternate with this time slot? Like for the trust conversation, for example.
Well, I wasn't talking about the trust conversation, but
okay, what were you talking about?
About the solving problem solving.
Like the new show, which the trust conversation could be one of.
Right.
But I feel like we actually don't want to start with the trust conversation.
I thought the trust conversation was not like solving a problem, but that was the marketing part of projects.
Yeah, like the meta project. And that's it. It kind of fits under both.
So
and that's where I think it fits with meta.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Because it's focusing on the project, but if we're asking like regular everyday people what you trust, then it's kind of a problem solving one. How do we solve the problem of trust in politics? How do we solve the problem of trust and then recreating something from the ground up, as opposed to Adriel asking, how do I get you to trust me in Wiki election? Right. So it could be like addressed through different avenues.
Okay. That makes sense. So we're saying to start with, it's sort of just a meta project part, and what does a project need to consider where trust is concerned in general, and then certain projects might have specific challenges.
Yeah, and so we're going to do a project raising. So this week we have someone tomorrow. So I say a week from tomorrow, we can do this. We can do a project raising, problem solving project raising around like following this format and seeing how that works. I can do a mini video just explaining that. Sorry?
Could just probably call that a problem raising and a project raising.
A problem raising? I like that.
Because you're raising it up for a solution.
Yeah, I like it. Project raising, project problem. That we can trial that and see, because then people can come and participate. And the rule is, to be in a new project raising, you have to have come and participated in at least 2 problem or project raisings. Is there a problem? I'll literally talk about any problem if we can use tech and solutions. So is there one that resonates with people? Could be politics. I know that's not very Game B, but it also is Game B. It's like, how do we trust politicians? How do we actually create something that isn't Bernie Sanders versus, it's like, no matter what country you're in, how do we trust? How do we create news stories? How do we do media coverage? Or do we want nothing to do with your projects and focus more on food, shelter, something?
I would rather not have an overlap with my current projects on that.
Yeah, same. Because I think that'll probably be like when we start the co-op councils, that's where we actually start talking about specific, like either co-op councils or project rating. That's the two to either talk about like general challenges among that space, so like politics or decision making, and then like specifically, how does Reason Score plan to solve this certain problem?
I have an idea. I'm gonna make a whatever poll and post it on the Game B space. It'll be 3. None of them will be politics, and it'll be whichever one resonates with the most people will be the one that. And then we can also post the link to that video there so that people will watch, if not participate.
Right.
All right. And you notice you don't come to project raisings and now problem raisings, right? Because they're too early for you.
Yeah, often they are just too early. I might sometimes still come if I'm really excited about something, but otherwise it might be often too early. Yeah.
Okay, well, just let me know if you are going to come after people have voted, because then I'll include you in the metric of like we can only have up to 6 people having this conversation on that. And on it, yeah. All right.
Often I don't mind to just be in the chat as well and listen in.
Perfect.
If we are too many.
All right, we have definitely went over our hour. People have nice things to get to.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast.
All right, bye YouTube.
Bye.
See ya.
New channel.